Alright, hello. Let me re-record the intro to this video because the original one was weird. This is my review of Bakuman, and it's an absolute banger of a series. I'm not surprised, but here's why I love it. Thanks for joining me. Bakuman is one of my favorite manga series by far, and I finished it last year. It's a 20-volume series about two schoolmates that have the dream of teaming up and becoming manga artists. This series comes from the same team that brought you Death Note, Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. If you liked the Death Note team's story about an evil notebook somehow becoming one of the most intense stories you've ever read, this series could satisfy that level of weird for you. Now, I know there are an almost immeasurable amount of obscure manga, but this is coming from a somewhat casual who is mostly only reading mainstream stuff for right now. The way they managed to gain the same amount of my attention with the manga about making manga is ridiculous. And great. I love the story just as much as Death Note, which, let's be honest, everyone loves, but it's not only a funny concept, it's an almost night and day difference to Death Note. Nowadays, Bakuman may just seem meta, but I was invested right away with the quirky characters and strong message of creativity and chasing your dreams, and all the other shit that boomers tell you is overrated. I'll get more into that in a sec, but this is the reason I got lost in the series and couldn't put it down. So, since it's a manga series, I'm not asking for a whole lot of believability. And again, in all honesty, the super meta concept of a manga series about creating manga sounds like it would break all sorts of immersion. This rarely happened to me. I was very drawn in, and when I did come back to reality, it was usually because of one of three things. 1. I stopped to think about how this series is wholesome as fuck, and I love it. 2. Thinking something like, this has to be a Death Note reference, and that's fun. And 3. My wife's cats threw up because they were eating something they weren't supposed to, and I had to clean it up. I mean, sure, yeah, they're my cats too, and yeah, I guess I love them. Whatever, they interrupt my days off is what I'm trying to complain about. Where am I going with this? So, also, the level of immersion made this one of the most effective motivational stories I have ever read. It brings me back to being a kid when you think, oh, I have all this free time and energy, and I'm gonna work hard and do something awesome. As opposed to being an adult and thinking, hey, I can either make dinner for myself tonight or finish reading that book, but not both. What I'm saying is this series helps me remember to relax and make time for the important things. Tell me a more valuable lesson than that. Second reason the books are great, the characters themselves. So where series like Naruto have hella material on their awesome side characters, some manga series mostly follow like three guys. Bakuman is somewhere in the middle. It has a great amount of side character love shown. Also, obviously with the example of Naruto, that's an insanely long series, so it had much more time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that for how short of a series Bakuman is, it does a great job at making you feel the camaraderie through each chapter. Camaraderie. Is that a word? It honestly rivals and then triumphs over any comic I've ever read. Harry Potter level, if you will. All this being said, there are a couple of storylines throughout the 20 books that didn't get finished very satisfyingly, if that makes grammatical sense. But with such a wide cast of characters, it's forgiven. This is one of my only complaints about the series, and it still has to do with one of its greatest strengths. Honestly, incomplete arcs should take away more points. I'll have to admit I'm probably a little biased because of the dream team behind the series, my Death Note guys. And this was such a feel-good series when I really needed it, so it helped me look past. I'm not sure why so many side stories were abandoned. Maybe they had to wrap up the series fast, or they were told no one cared about said stories, I don't know. But at least we got 20 volumes, and I would have honestly been fine with another 3 or so to help wrap things up. That was a lot I said just now about the side characters. I should probably mention the main event, the main characters themselves. Real quick, who they are, Mashiro and Takagi. They are the center of this super meta story and yet still feel so familiar, like they belong amongst the ranks of Luffy and Naruto. Takagi is a smartass, thinks he's too smart for school, decides to get real into manga. He knows he can't draw. He also knows that Mashiro can draw very well. And he knows this because my guy sits at the back of the classroom and creeps on everyone. So he asks Mashiro to team up with him to become mangaka. Am I using that right, or am I being an asshole? I don't know. But from there we meet more people through their endeavors, but specifically seeing how far the two main characters will go for each other is amazing. It's such a good friendship, and it very well could have spoiled all comics for me. I don't know. Now, the art style is great because look who we're dealing with, and specifically with the main characters, you can really hear their voices loud and clear just with that style Takeshi Obata has perfected. It's goofy, but perfectly fitting, and like a classic meme style, or kind of like the funny, awkward humor you probably enjoy if you grew up watching all the anime on Toonami. It brings out the fun Shonen Jump vibes of extreme epicness over something silly like drawing or relationships. Then, in some of the awkward scenes between the two protagonists, the facial expressions make me laugh out loud. This is another plus for the series. It can be funny as hell. Now, I'm not saying it's a riot through and through. It's not supposed to be a humor manga. But if I am by myself, I rarely laugh out loud. And pretty much every time they get into some awkward scenario, I lose my shit. And that's only one example of the jokes I can remember. There's other good stuff. Now, like I said, usually good vibes. For a pop culture reference, it's as feel-good as Parks and Rec. The other vibes of Bakuman are insane nerves and anticipation. The series has all sorts of epic suspense over their attempt at the creative process, which is dangerous. It makes these books very hard to put down. For any fantasy fans, this is right up there with Name of the Wind for me, with how much my emotional stability relies on our hero succeeding in something so creative and wonderful. Oh boy, I'm really getting old or something. 26 is rough. No, but anyway, just be prepared to get destroyed or cry happy tears. I won't tell you which, could be both. Read it yourself because no spoilers. But here's how I can wrap things up while still trying not to give away too much so you can read this wonderful series yourself. So this series is fun, wholesome, will make you laugh, possibly cry if you have a soul. And all around a very motivational story, which apparently was very needed in my case, even though the characters start their adventure toward the end of middle school, and I'm towards the end of my mid-20s. So, I read this series on Shonen Jump, subscribe for $2 a month. It's pretty cool. You could read it 100% that way. Or, you could be like me and get addicted to the series by book 4, buy yourself the box set, and then find out that Shonen Jump has that awesome subscription. But, whatever. It ended up being one of my favorites like I thought it would, so it doesn't really matter. That's it. That's the end of the video. Stick around if you want to hear some extra shit. Alright, so if you're still listening, I have Dead Man Wonderland coming up. I also read that last year. It was amazing. After that, I'll do some more recent things. That'll be fun. In between those two things, I will probably put out my review of a short series that I didn't like that much. Because so far, it's mostly been me praising the hell out of stuff, and mostly by this author-artist combo. Otherwise, enjoy the 4th of July, if you're throwing down in America this weekend. That's stupid. You can have a nice day wherever you are. Whatever. Talk to you later.